I'm Dean Phillips. I'm the worldwide tech lead for automotive at AWS, and excited to be here today, talk to you about some of our announcements that came out of reInvent and maybe a couple other things. We'll spend a few minutes on that, and then I'll hand it over to Karthik, and he'll be contributing as well to the discussion. But yeah, so what do we do? I lead the community of solution architects, technical field community, a bunch of folks who are already in the industry covering automotive customers and their usage of AWS technologies, and then also those who are aspiring to engage in automotive and want to build skills. So we help build the industry muscle in AWS for automotive. My focus, again, is around connected mobility, autonomous, ADAS, and then a lot of focus really around software-defined vehicle. Most recently in the past, I'd say year and a half, and always excited to engage with Moby to kind of understand, what are the challenges and technologies we need to address to enable this new economy of movement that we're looking at. So Karthik, I don't know if you want to say anything before we jump in.
No, I think let's jump right in.
Okay, great. Well, that said, at reInvent, we announced AWS for Automotive. And what is this? What does that mean? Really, this is a new initiative where we bring together purpose-built automotive solutions and services from AWS and our partners, as well as making it easier for customers to find and buy solutions that address the different workloads, the solution areas that they have. We have over 200 automotive partners with offerings across the different solution areas. And this is really kind of an effort to bring all of this to bear in the market, making it easier for our customers and automotive decision makers to solve their critical business challenges with IT solutions on AWS. And customers engage with us in three different ways. Clearly, the self-service build model has been kind of the foundation of how so many customers have been successful on AWS. And we enable that with tech guidance and content on our architecture center and elsewhere on the property. But we also have partners and system integrators and our professional services team where you can engage in custom build solutions or take some of our partner content using the AWS marketplace and deploy things directly on your own. So these are kind of the three different models with which we are engaging with customers in the industry today. AWS for Automotive aligns our entire go-to-market strategy across these 7 different solution areas. This makes it easier, again, as I mentioned, for us to present the content directly to the industry. And based on feedback from customers, we wanted to make it easier for them to kind of navigate what's available from AWS all the way from full-blown solutions and products that they have, or getting started kits and technical solution guidance that we'll provide from our architecture center. So let's dive in, and we'll jump into the first solution area around software-defined vehicle, which is really, I think, the most exciting, considering all of the investment that's happened during COVID and the repurposing and acceleration of investment in the space that we've seen across the industry by a number of OEMs and suppliers in the space. There are a number of challenges that are really driving the need for this software-defined approach. When you look at it, you have the traditional trends around electrification, autonomous, the shared mobility concepts that obviously this community is very well aware of, and then the electrification of the powertrains. Combining all of that with sophisticated user experiences and customer experiences that kind of blend what you have in your home and bring it into the vehicle and across, obviously, even a number of different vehicle types. Combining that with regulatory differences across states, states here in the US, and then across, different countries, say, around the world where there are, where the operation of the vehicle can be affected by what country you're in. So you cross from let's say you're in EMEA and you're across from one country into another, there may be different guidelines and different languages for the roads. And so the software in the vehicle needs to address the change in behaviors and understand the environment around it. When you think about all that with the electronic systems in the vehicle, as far as their total car cost, we're almost up to 50% today, close to it. And that's just driving home the point that software is the foundation upon all of which, mobility is being built from here on out. So with that, you have the challenge and the need to bring this agility and I guess the speed to market that we have with cloud solutions. We want to bring that into the vehicle, which has historically been constrained by the embedded platforms, the multiple numbers of electronic control units that are in the cars. And we're now consolidating down into a more consolidated architecture. We can talk more about that later, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds. Point is, software is the future, and that's where the investments are being made. Now, this I think was kind of interesting just because for this audience, we're looking at obviously vehicles, but there are a number of different vehicle types that are relevant in the industry. So, we've got the micromobility scooters, for that micro mile, the last mile of a trip, but then you have all of the different types of devices, like even the Prime Scout that you see in the bottom right. And then my most interesting encounter, I guess, for the past month was with Thor Industries and how they've rolled out or showcased to the world they call it the E-Stream, the Airstream trailer that literally it's completely Alexa enabled, but it has an electric powertrain in it. And not only does this electric powertrain assist the tow vehicle by removing the load, and is eventually only providing about 200 pounds of a drag on that vehicle, it also allows you to, using an iPad or an iPhone, you can back it into your parking place at the campground. So the thing spins like 360. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Lots of different interesting things happening in industries that you wouldn't imagine. And this is all about software and and new electric powertrains and bringing that to market. So what are the enabling technologies that make this happen? Obviously, IoT is at the foundation. It must be connected, and then it allows you to scale. And then once you're connected, you have to land the data. You have to have a data lake and a strategy to address the collection of data from the devices, from all of the parts of your business. And then once you have that data in a well-organized manner, you can then begin to exploit things like machine learning and artificial intelligence because you have it prepared and you can get it ready for training and then simulation workloads that come off of that. Edge to cloud around the CV to X space. Clearly this is evolving, and I'm quite confident in the next several months, we'll see some movement out of NHTSA, the Department of Transportation, maybe starting to put a stake in the ground around what that means for us today in the 5G, MEC, and the CV to X space. Perhaps not using the DSRC and going with the 5G approach. Anyway, moving on to hardware consolidation. The software-defined capabilities are enabled by hardware consolidation and virtualization technologies. And once you have that, you need a collection of microservices to build the apps in that environment. You need to encapsulate the applications, perhaps using technologies like containers. And then once you have all of this together, you really can accelerate that cloud-native DevOps experience. And we've been working with customers like Continental and ARM in SOFI, which is another consortium around the scalable open architecture for the embedded edge. With that, we're helping address some of those issues I mentioned on the previous page. But Continental is building a platform for automotive software development that tries to bring all of this together. And not only Continental, but we just had a recent announcement with Stellantis, who is also building an automotive workbench to kind of accelerate that development experience that has been constrained by the complexity of the various runtimes in the vehicle. Now, just to explain that, I'll try not to spend too much time here, but I want to make the point because some of the things that we've released and made progress on over the past 6 months are really starting to bear fruit. So if you look at the work we've done with ARM, I mean, it's important to remember that ARM is the leader in the market for embedded CPUs, not only in automotive, but obviously the cell phone business, if you look at mobile phones. They have a 75% share of the in-vehicle infotainment space in the IVI, $3 billion in the ADAS space, as well as, a bunch of other automotive chips in the industry, and this is growing. And the point there is we have cloud instances, and one of the new instance types we announced is the Graviton 3 instance. I'll mention that in a moment, which enables you to write that embedded software code in the cloud and then deploy it to the vehicle runtime without recompiling it, without having a special process for purpose-built, unique, one-off runtime environments. So this is really critical to to enable that speed and agility that's required. And then when you have this removement of the friction between the cloud and the vehicle, you've got this bit perfect deployment capability, you're able to accelerate your deployment. So we're really all in on this concept. Customers are very excited about this. We do demos showcasing. Stefan on my team will do a demo where he showcases this exact concept where there is absolutely no friction between the two environments. Just to highlight that point, developers, they build, execute tests on their PC, they build for the target environment, they test on the target environment, they integrate the testing, from the cloud, from maybe their unit tests on their PC. Then they validate all of that with their Hill workloads, hardware in the loop workloads, and in-vehicle testing. So it takes a bunch of different steps and complex things to make it happen. But when you have the native parity, what we're doing is we're taking out a lot of these steps and we're doing what we're calling soft Hill. So software-based hardware in the loop testing in the cloud. And this allows you to increase your test coverage exponentially, where you can have automated testing. Every time you check in code or do a build, you can run through an enormous number of tests and simulations to then validate the software quality. So we're very excited about this, and just stay tuned for more. And we're developing Amazon machine instances with the operating systems, the embedded the real-time operating systems that are based on Yocto Linux and some other well-known brands that will enable what I just described there. So the Graviton 3 instance is brand new, launched at reInvent. This is built on the success from the Graviton 2, and we're seeing 25% better performance over the Graviton 2 instances with this environment. And again, for automotive, this is accelerating that DevOps experience with the environmental parity between the two, the embedded hardware that's in the vehicle and the cloud with this frictionless movement of software. Another exciting announcement that we had was with Rivian. We're excited to share how they've selected AWS as its preferred cloud partner. Rivian's using our analytics and compute, containers and machine learning software to support the development of their EVs, doing things like battery state of charge, state of health, as well as the driving and the owner experience on top of what they've been doing just to build the, their electric fleet management, and then of course their charging station infrastructure. So this is really exciting. We're happy to see this and work with Rivian in such a high profile way with a product that has a massive cult-like following. I think, at least in AWS, we see it, and then reading lots of positive news about their vehicles online. So I'll move on to the next solution area, connected mobility services. We'll go a lot quicker. I did spend a lot of time on software defined, but I think that's just indicative of the importance and what we feel is really driving transformation in the industry right now. Connected mobility is another important area where we've taken a lot of lessons learned from hundreds of our partner engagements and thousands of activations of our connected vehicle reference architecture that we released back in 2017. And we've developed a connected mobility solution that kind of builds on that with a kind of a next generation approach. And then in addition to that, we have a handful of partner solutions here from Wireless Car and their fleet management. NXP has a really nice EV management solution that highlights their green box, and they have a blue box, green box, gold box architecture for the in-vehicle high performance compute. So that's a really nice one. We're seeing accelerate deployments. Another one with NXP around AOI and motor. This is a usage-based insurance. And then, of course, DXC Luxoft with their end-to-end connected vehicle solution, and Harman and Verizon with the cellular vehicle to everything. So lots going on. There is more that will be coming out. We'll be updating our site and creating a solutions library that highlights all of these solutions by solution area and use case in the near future. The other major announcement was around IoT Fleetwise. This is our first purpose-built automotive solution at AWS. It's a managed service that takes away the undifferentiated heavy lifting of connecting vehicles to the cloud. It reduces the costs of the data transfer by doing some intelligent data filtering. We can detect vehicle health problems in real time. And also a really cool feature is enabling what is essentially referred to in the industry as the snapshot, where ADAS systems, as they perform when they have low confidence events, we can capture the raw data from the cameras along with all the other telemetry from the vehicle and send that to the cloud in a bundle, which then gets fed back into the DevOps process, the MLOps process, to improve that software and push it back to the car. So this one is extremely exciting. It's under preview now and will GA in the coming months. A number of connected vehicle, connected mobility reference customers across the board, from startups to suppliers to OEMs. And of course, a long list of additional partners that we haven't mentioned with different solutions that are available. And next, getting into the autonomous mobility space. I'm not going to give an overview on how we do autonomous development or support autonomous development on AWS, but we want to showcase just some of the services, technologies, and solutions that our customers and partners have built. This has been growing, more rapidly than any of our other solution areas. In fact, this past summer, we introduced the second version of our autonomous data lake reference architecture that has been implemented by a number of different customers to accelerate their ADAS and autonomous deployments. And this reference architecture is based off of identifying a number of reference, logical architectural patterns that we've seen. So we've combined all of those learnings and put it into this reference architecture. We've also released with that a handful of very technical blog posts and some open source code examples on how to manage the work, your data pipelines through that reference architecture using the managed workflows for Apache Airflow service that we have in AWS. So a lot of focus has been spent working with partners to launch solutions that they've developed, including the DXC Robotic Drive Cloud and Capgemini driving automation system validation solution, just a couple. So we're excited about this space. It's obviously continuing to grow, and we've got a new service that was announced at reInvent. Actually, the SageMaker ground truth service had been out for a while, but we had an enhancement to it with Ground Truth Plus. And what this is all about is supporting the labeling of autonomous data sets from the perspective of LiDAR point cloud. That particular feature is the one that we highlight here. Obviously, we can do labeling of your ground truth data in all the traditional ways with semantic segmentation, just as an example, object identification, bounding boxes. But in this case, we can take the point cloud data sets and label them as well to do those same types of things. So we're really excited about this one. About 3 years ago, we introduced one of the mobility startups here in the Detroit area to our development team, and they had this very request. I want to label my point cloud data, help me do it. And so I watched over a period of 6 months, and we built that capability, and now we've iterated on it and really improved the capabilities here. So this is a big one, purpose-built for automotive. Next, we have the Aurora announcement, where Aurora has selected AWS as its preferred cloud provider for machine learning training and their cloud-based simulation workloads. And this is all for the development of the Aurora driver, which is their autonomous brain. It's really fascinating, some of the things that Aurora has done, especially with their focus on safety and ensuring that the vehicle operates and performs in certain maneuvers in a safe manner. So you should take a look at their site and see the content that they've published around that. But when you look at the challenge, they are scaling physics-based simulations to 12 million per day by the end of last year. So that was their goal, and that's what they announced. They're using petabytes of data that they've captured from their test fleets, and they use that to do these simulations. And one thing that they point out in the announcement, and it's really interesting if you don't understand how this technology is developed, before the Aurora driver was ever deployed to take or attempt an unprotected left-hand turn on a physical road, they completed nearly 2.3 million turns in simulation in the cloud. So if you think about that, this is estimated to be roughly equal to 20,000 hours of real world driving practice. And all the time I mentioned earlier about developing vehicle functions and the embedded vehicle functions using, say, the Graviton runtime, we can accelerate this kind of effort in the future. So we're seeing not just the machine learning and the simulation workloads that have been kind of restricted, or not restricted, but kind of focused in the autonomous space, but we're seeing it for traditional software development in the vehicle for all the other functions and capabilities. So that's why what I mentioned earlier with the parity between the cloud and the vehicle is so important. And then they also use SageMaker to train their models, and they leverage our EC2 P4D instances, and these are our highest performing and most scalable systems in the cloud. It's basically like a massive supercomputer in the cloud to do all of this work. So really excited about that. There's an episode on, or excuse me, a recording of their session at reInvent available. One of the breakout sessions had Tim Kelton, the director from Aurora, talking with Stefano Marzani from my team, who is tech lead for autonomous driving, and where he talked about this Aurora solution in a lot more detail. So I encourage you to take a look at that if you're interested. Next is the space around digital customer engagement. This is an area of focus across all of Amazon, all the way from the advertising group to Alexa Automotive, Fire TV, Ring, and everything else. We have a lot of services and solutions designed to better understand the customer behavior and offer relevant, personalized experiences based on their lifestyle. So that our customers are trying to obviously address their customers and provide capabilities that they want. So we work with a lot of these AWS services, among many others. And then in the solution space, we have a number of partners and the capabilities that they bring. And a lot of this is focused on building virtual showrooms that streamline and personalize the shopping journey. And also, with our partner Wireless Car, they've created a new solution to automate the customer call center using Amazon Connect. So they can make a very seamless experience from in the vehicle, push to talk, get to the call center in the cloud, or from their mobile device, connect to the call center. That's all powered by Amazon Connect. And then for rendering of the digital images of vehicles to support the online shopping process, our partner ZeroLight recently released their Spotlight suite that simplifies the entire process for marketing organizations to digitally render that content, organize it, prepare it for all of the make model types that our customers have with all of the different options. And when you see the fidelity of this rendered content, it looks like it's actually the vehicle. It's not a photograph, but it's a rendered content. It's like liquid on the glass. It's really fascinating to see what they've done there. Some other of our customers in this space that we should bring out. Actually, last summer, we had an announcement with Ferrari, where they're redefining how customers engage with their brand in the motorsports arena through the use of mobile applications and development of an exciting, set of content and a new experience for their racing fans. In addition to that, they're working on in the engineering space for things like computational fluid dynamics and others. But that was an exciting one from this past summer. And then we have a number of other customers across the whole domain. This is a big space, and we're really just starting to get deeper into it. So I've rambled on long enough, I think, and now I'll hand it to Karthik, where he can talk to us about product engineering and the rest of the solution areas.
Thanks, Shane. So we spoke all about everything that's possible once the car is out in the on the road, and let's take a step back and come to the process of everything before production, pre-production area, and primary areas there are product engineering, manufacturing, and supply chain for us. Now, in the product engineering space, it's a growing capability for AWS, where we are talking about how we help our customers in achieving like a quicker design turnaround times, how to accelerate engineering development, and how to derive insights by leveraging design, test, simulation data, all in a fully traceable manner. Next slide. So these are some of the services that we have where we were able to help our customers with situations such as during COVID, we had design teams from different automotive companies focused on how can they work from home and still have that high performance compute. So these services, EC2, S3, all this kind of come together for that and help in those situations. And whether it's Formula One trying to simulate and build their next generation car, or even Rivian trying to do something from a virtual environment and everything. So we are talking about services that come together from a product engineering standpoint. And solutions perspective, we have computational fluid dynamics, which essentially plays for the Formula One use case that I mentioned. Some of the examples in these areas from a customer perspective can be seen in the next slide. So Volkswagen, Rivian, Formula One, and Lucid and Zook. So this is basically a growing capability for us where we are actively working with all the OEMs and other customers to help more in the product engineering space and see what is the need in that area. Next slide here. So manufacturing. So once we are done with the engineering space, then we move on to the manufacturing space. And I would highlight that as we spoke about digital customer journey and everything after that from connected autonomous. So we look at this as a loop. So imagine when we have so much of data points and insights that we're gathering from after when the car is on the road to bring that data back to the design process, manufacturing process, and supply chain, and how that all acts like a loop. So that's how we see it here. And from that perspective, manufacturing, given COVID and many other things that have been happening right now from geo, macroeconomic level, there has been a good level of push in terms of digital transformation. And we have been working with OEM suppliers in their digital transformation journey when it comes to Industry 4.0 or connected factory. And it can be use cases such as production process optimization or digital twins, or how can we enable preventive or predictive maintenance, or how can we leverage the cameras in the factory shop floor situations to quickly gather images and create insights that gets them to a stage where they're able to do in-process quality management. So these are some of the use cases that comes in right now from a manufacturing perspective. And on the next slide, you will see services and solutions that are put together, especially for these. I will talk in a bit about IoT Twin Maker, which is one of the releases that we had during Greenment. But the other services that you see there, Greengrass, Snowball, S3. So basically trying to gather that edge data from equipments in the shop floor, whether it's at an equipment level, a station level, a production line level, or a plant level, trying to get all that together to create that right level of insights. So that's where all these services play into. And with that, we have been able to work with our partners and our own services and put together featured purpose-built solutions. AWS Lookout for Equipment, which especially kind of looks into preventive, predictive maintenance, and Lookout for Vision, which is the in-process quality management that I spoke about. So these are purpose-built solutions that have been put in place to increase OEE, or overall equipment efficiency, in a shop floor environment. Next slide. IoT Twin Maker, as I was just mentioning, is one of the services that got launched in reInvent. So we are talking here about a digital twin for real-world systems like buildings or factories or industrial equipments or production lines or even supply chain for that matter. So this is basically a virtual representation of a physical system that can be created to mimic the structure, the state, or behavior of an object. Imagine a CAD drawing, or that can be taken in and used for creating a 3D visualization, and how you're easily able to integrate into available data, no matter where it comes from, and quickly able to accurately develop a model in your built environment. Now you're able to get that insight in real time of your machines or your plant or even your supply chain from a digital twin perspective. So this has been a growing need in the market from our customer side, and we saw this as one of the requirements, and this has been addressed in this reInvent. Use cases here involves equipment uptime in remote facilities, field operations in manufacturing plants, as I was talking about, tenant experience in commercial buildings and whatnot. Next slide. IoT RoboRunner was another service that we introduced in during reInvent. So this basically caters to a situation where we have traditional automakers and many other even suppliers, where multiple different mobile robots are in a plant, in a shop floor environment, and each of them will have their own platform and their own systems in which they run. So how can a shop floor environment look at it at a single pane of glass view? So to create that, so this is basically a service that makes it easier to build applications that makes it possible for those different robots to be interoperable and orchestrate and create an orchestration layer for these robots from a single view by removing any complex development work required to connect. And this also kind of connects to the work management system, which comes after the fact. And that way you're able to imagine a shop floor situation where there are multiple robots running all across, and you're able to now orchestrate what has to happen when. So that basically is addressed by this specific service. Now you're talking about enabling robots from different vendors to work together, connecting those robots and work management systems, and then simply building applications for optimizing robo fleets. So the use cases here are similar in a shop floor situation, as I mentioned: manufacturing and logistics process optimization, automation, automated material handling, and robotics modernization. Next slide. AWS Private 5G is another service that we launched, and here let's imagine a situation inside a shop floor where we have materials placed in one end and a lot of forklifts running, and a lot of operational stuff happening or production stuff happening inside a shop floor. That's one use case where you will need less latency and high connectivity and real-time location services all built in to get to that visibility layer of where your material is, how should it get to the line itself, and how all this should happen real time. So for that, there are different solutions out there, and what we have released here is private 5G network or private 5G service, which is basically a managed service that lets customers easily deploy, manage, and scale a private cellular network. Now, this happens with low latency and high bandwidth, leveraging the 5G network. Now, the use cases here, we are able to set up a private network faster in a matter of minutes and scale that network dynamically to add how many of our devices needed for any sort of shop floor situation, and a single pane of management for granular access. And the use cases here may involve connected factory, enterprise IoT, AR, VR, and reliable campus connectivity. Next slide. So some of the manufacturing customers that we have, Volkswagen, talking about how we are able to bring plans, equipments, data together and leverage that to create all the plant insights and everything that they need, bringing all their equipments to the edge, to the cloud. Apollo Tires is one great example. It's a recent announcement that came out where they are leveraging AWS to pretty much create any in a smart factory or connected factory insights and connect all their systems together, leveraging IoT, data analytics, and machine learning and AI. Other customers, Georgia Pacific, Siemens, Invista, and whatnot. Next slide. Now that we have covered manufacturing, and there is an overarching layer to everything, which we all know, which is supply chain. And it's a from a supply chain perspective, given what automotive industry has faced in the last few years because of COVID, because of chip shortage, different other things happening, we know everything that's happening from that perspective. So we are actively working with manufacturers, suppliers, dealers, digital retailers from that perspective to get our perspective of how we have been able to, for the last 25 years, help Amazon.com, whether it is forecasting or whether it is visibility, traceability. If a package is able to reach to you at 8 p.m. tonight and Amazon is able to track it, then how can we take that experience and help our automotive customers, such as suppliers and OEMs and dealerships, to create that traceability and create that tracking ability and create that visibility layer? So that's where supply chain plays in. And next slide here. Some of the opportunity areas that we see here are in demand planning and forecasting, real-time visibility, traceability, and simulation of bottlenecks and risk modeling. But it doesn't stop there. Whether it's anticipating supply disruption or building resiliency, or supporting the electric future in terms of planning a new supply chain for them, battery traceability and other parts traceability related use cases that are being worked on here in Moby. All these are primary challenges in the industry right now, which are actively being worked on, where AWS is also trying to support in terms of solutions and services. What we see as supply chain here is it's gotten to a level that it's third most priority for supply chain leaders right now, or automotive leaders right now. I would say supply chain is the third most priority for them, and that is its primary focus right now has gone into how can we create that layer of traceability, and that has taken much more importance right now because of COVID. Next slide. Services such as IoT Core, IoT Greengrass, AWS, and Amazon Managed Blockchain, and Amazon Forecast. So these are some of the services that primarily act in for use cases that are related to supply chain. And Amazon Forecast, for an example here, when we talk specifically about forecasting and bringing in that seasonal data or products with high volume, low volume, complex BOM structure, demand-driven MRP and whatnot. And we're talking about all these different scenarios that happens in an automotive world. How can we create that right level of forecast that brings your inventory balancing in place and helps you get that right part at the right time into the shop floor? We take that as a comparison directly to Amazon.com, where we are able to leverage such services and get to a point where we need to understand what orders to be placed when. And me coming from Amazon.com, where I worked for more than 3.5 years before AWS, I've seen how Amazon Forecast kind of a service plays in that world, where for China, when all this COVID thing started, there were a bunch of orders that were being placed for masks in the US. And all this is happening automatically because our system is understanding that, hey, masks needs to be placed because it's an upcoming requirement here in the US. But none of us understood why that was being placed around November timeframe in 2019. So we have seen how AI, ML, and that intelligence layer that can be brought in with services such as Amazon Forecast can play well in terms of demand forecasting and accuracy. So that's one example there from a services perspective. Feature solutions here involve Volkswagen Industrial Cloud, Campfire, and Palantir. Next slide. So Amazon Managed Blockchain Services. So this is one of the services that we have that I was talking about in the previous slide as well. So it's a fully managed service, which is already out there. It's not a new service. This basically makes it easy to create and manage scalable blockchain networks using popular open source frameworks. So Hyperledger Fabric, which in this case plays for a private blockchain decentralized version, and Ethereum for public blockchain. Now, as in terms of recent releases, next slide here. Before jumping into the release itself, so fully managed, which essentially helps in creating a blockchain network in minutes, and reliable and scalable because it's backed by the Amazon technology. And you pay for resources that are used, so you don't have that the effort that is needed to run and manage infrastructure. We take that out, and you pay only as you use, and it's easily integrated with AWS services. So this all helps you quickly create your own blockchain in minutes and get operational. And so that's what we bring as a service here in Amazon Managed Blockchain. And next slide. The recent developments or recent releases have happened in the Hyperledger Fabric version 2.2, where we are talking about chain code, lifecycle, decentralized governance. We are bringing in new environments, Node.js, Java, and enhanced private data features. So this is a service that already exists, and we have understood a few necessities that are relevant for what we are trying to do in blockchain space. And these are some of the new updates that has happened in that area. Next slide. So supply chain partners. So these are some of the key partners that we are currently working with, and pretty much the areas that are of focus have been highlighted here, and we are identifying more. And the work with Moby is very important for us when it comes to the supply chain working group or drives or whatnot. The use cases such as parts traceability, battery traceability, a trusted trip, and everything it's all building towards some of the key challenges in the automotive industry, and us working on it and bringing a consortium where we have all our customers, OEMs, suppliers, and everyone else in the landscape working together to solve something. So that's really big for us, being in the presence of our customers and trying to understand those challenges and working together. Next slide. Some of the supply chain customers that we have, Volkswagen Group, again here, where we are trying to connect different suppliers of Volkswagen together and get them on to create that single pane of glass view in terms of visibility and traceability, and how to orchestrate fleet management for Convoy, Fleet Complete, and whatnot. So these are some of the customers we have in that area. And finally, next slide. Thank you. So that covers pretty much the supply chain area. And thank you. Any questions?
Great, thank you. I'll read some of the questions that we have. Are you and Continental working on sensors in the frames of cars to record real-time accident data through ADAS/telematics and report to police, insurance, and collision facilities?
That's a good question. I think that's definitely all possible. And as far as what Continental is developing, I'd leave them to answer that. But it's definitely possible to do all of those things using the workbench that they're developing and products that they could release to the market, as well as any of our other customers, for that matter. But we're not leading the development of that, anything like that.
Great. So our next question is about the presentation slides. So to that question, this lecture is being recorded, so you'll be able to rewatch the lecture on Moby's website. And another question we have is the AWS Automotive Suite using any DLT technology like decentralized identifiers, verifiable credentials, or any of the Moby standards? If so, can you elaborate a bit on that?
I think Karthik just gave a good explanation of our blockchain offering and some of the features around it. As far as that goes, we haven't built any of those features into any of the other services in our portfolio. But we have been working with some customers that are working on Moby projects, and happy to continue doing that. And we're trying to stay active as much as we can in the group to kind of move things along. Karthik, if you have anything else you want to add around that.
Yeah, I think, as I was mentioning during the presentation itself, Moby is definitely very important for us. And though we have not, we don't have anything added here yet into our suite, we are actively working and actively part of the working groups in Moby. And we are working with partners who are also part of Moby and trying to do something in that space as well. So we are thinking about how it has to all come together. And blockchain as an area is definitely evolving. And Moby is right now in the front of getting those standards out and helping the whole industry. So we definitely see the importance of that.
Great. So our next question, other than the potential marketing benefits associated with claiming use of blockchain, what's the benefit of using AWS managed blockchain compared to having a traditional database on the Amazon side of the interface? My understanding is that you can't connect nodes which aren't part of AWS managed blockchain to ones that are, so you have a single centralized compute controller. Would customers be able to tell if you replace blockchain with a traditional database on the Amazon side of that strictly managed interface?
So benefits itself, as I mentioned during the presentation, it's fully managed. So right now, as much as we talk about different use cases in blockchain that can leverage blockchain, the difficulty is it's a new technology. It takes time to convince a company or a leadership with respect to a new technology. And how can we make it easier for them to cross that hurdle and get to a quick POC or get to a quick level of implementation is when it can be fully managed, and we take out that effort of putting together and managing that infrastructure. So that's where we bring the value in terms of being fully managed, reliable, and scalable, because it's on the Amazon technology, and of course you pay as you go. So all that helps them get started, helps the customers get started, and from there they're able to evolve and get working on the use cases that they want in terms of business outcomes. So that's where I see Amazon managed blockchain services coming into the picture. With respect to single centralized compute controller, Dean, I will let you answer that, or we may have to check with our tech resource there, but I don't believe that's right.
Can I jump in on that? Is that okay?
Sure.
It's true. So, hey, Ben, one of the initiative that we're building out is MobyNet, and it's on our website. And MobyNet is a network of nodes run by members and consortium partners. And to our knowledge, our members use different clouds. And one of the key thing is that if our members use different cloud, they have to be able to connect the nodes, and we have figured out how to do that. And we are in the process of doing that. And we'll be announcing that soon. So it is doable. I'm not the system architect, so I can't speak more to it. But
My understanding is that it's not doable if you're using the managed blockchain solution. You can spin up an EC2 instance and run Geth
Right.
or whatever. But I think the managed blockchain is just only within Amazon, that single company controlling the whole thing.
I believe there are some restrictions there. But, we'd have to get back to you on the details. But I think, what Tram described, definitely, I think, within the MobyNet, there's a method and they've got a solution for that.
Yeah, and same here. I think we'll have to get back on that. If there is a restriction there, then we will need a little more detail to talk about that.
Great. So I think we have time for probably one or two more questions. One of them I see here, many automotive makers have started developing their own car OS. I did see BlackBerry IVY showing in one of Dean's slides. Any update or feature preview for IVY AWS? What's the important role for a potential AWS and IVY?
Yeah, great question. Actually, at reInvent, one of the sessions we had was a chalk talk. And we had Michael Garcia from our team and another a member from BlackBerry, where they did a whiteboard session describing the IVY solution and gave a demo. It's kind of obviously preview, but gave a nice demo. And I guess the point is that I don't know that that was recorded. I originally thought it was. It may not be recorded, but I think we'll have some more content coming, so we can showcase that with the community. But at the moment, it is progressing, and we did have a nice session at reInvent about that. And there may have been some other IVY, public events that have happened since then, like town hall or panel sessions similar to this via webcast that are out there. But BlackBerry's, obviously this is a BlackBerry platform that they're leading, building on AWS with some of our builders. And we're excited about that. I think there'll be more coming later this year.
Great. So maybe a last question. Do you offer consulting support services for finding use cases for piloting Moby standardized cases?
Our professional services team can engage on any number of technologies, so we could definitely arrange for something like that through our ProServe team, and if not that, through our other partners. There are actually some partners of ours in Moby that are very active with those skills, and I think that's about it.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. It was a great lecture. And as a reminder to everyone, this lecture was recorded. So it'll be on Moby's website and available with all of our other lectures as well. And it'll go out for a bulletin. So be sure to subscribe to that as well.
Hey,
Thank you.
Kelly,
Yeah.
may I let everybody know that next week, if you're interested in hearing more about MobyNet, we have a whole hour-and-a-half panel on MobyNet. So please join us. Thank you.
Yes, that'll be available on our lecture series page as well. So be sure to register there. Thank you.